anyways, as I was saying, pursue yourself authentically first, and then you will meet. Oops, you will meet the type of people that you want in your life. If you want to meet people, go out and meet them. Figure out. Think about it. Where would they be? You want cool people? Where do cool people go? What does cool mean to you? You know? Maybe you think cool people are the ones that go to parties all the time. Find out where the parties are at, bro. It's not. All you gotta do is ask someone. Look, find out where they are. And then on top. On doing that, you're gonna just become so much more open. You know, I think the worst thing you can do is be closed off, and it's very easy to be closed off because either you're looking too narrowly at what you want, or you don't know what it is that you want. You need to have a good balance. You need to know what sounds good to you and pursue that, but you also need to be open to other things, because sometimes other things are better. So work on yourself, but don't set your mind on one thing. Give yourself room. Have grace with yourself. You might, because look, the thing is, you might start pursuing something that you thought was really cool, and then you start doing it, you're like, I'm not vibing with this. Choose something else. Nothing is as serious as people make it. Life is short. I don't know why people don't understand this. Life is so short. And all you gotta do is just go for things. You know? Listen to yourself. You know yourself. Why are you letting other things convince you otherwise? Other people convince you otherwise? If I know that I don't want to go out tonight, I don't have to go out tonight. Who's gonna get hurt if I don't go out tonight? You might miss out on something, so what? I might have a really good time at home. I might get some good sleep that I've been wanting. You know? I might watch a really good movie. And you don't have to weigh those things on the same scale. You don't have to balance everything against itself. They can be separate. Rest can be one good feeling, and it doesn't have to be the same good feeling as going out and having fun. Those can be separate. They don't have to be compared. But if that's what sounds good to you, go do that. Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. I know that I have a pretty strong intuition. I know that about myself. So if I feel like I don't want to do something, or if something comes up and I'm genuinely, I don't know, like physically rejecting it, then I know that it's wrong. But it can be even simpler than that. It's just, it could go the other way too, you know? The thought of not doing something is like, it just feels so wrong. I don't know how to explain it, but you work on sharpening your intuition by listening to yourself in the moment. If somebody asks you if you want to go out tonight, and really deep in your heart, you feel like, okay, here's a good way to try to listen to your intuition. A situation comes up, and you can practice with yourself, I feel like. You can practice like this. Ask yourself a question. Do I want coffee right now? If your immediate reaction is yes or no, like first split second, as soon as you ask the question what your response is, think about that. Like, pay attention before you get into, but blah, blah, blah. Oh, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean you have to go out and get coffee in that moment. You just practice asking questions to yourself. Do I want to wear silver or gold today? Gold. So I'm wearing gold. Do I want to brush my hair today? No. Obviously not. But stuff like that. Then you move on to when people ask you something. Somebody asks you, do you want to go to the store with me? If your immediate reaction is no, I don't want to, or like, if your immediate reaction isn't yes, then it's a no. And that's something that, like, I wish people understood better, is that I'm just listening to myself as I go. I'm not calculating anything. It's like sometimes this happens to me a lot. I'll be really worked up and excited for something, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, you know what, I don't feel like it anymore. And that's okay. I think it's okay. It's hard to explain that though, and it's hard for that not to come across personal. But um that's just how I am, at least. But yeah, it's so important to listen to yourself and to know yourself, and just know where things are coming up for you, or like know why things are coming up for you. You gotta understand your emotions a little bit better, um, which means you can't get defensive. You gotta really take a step back. Honestly, I can almost guarantee that 90% of things that happen are not personal. You text someone and they don't respond, depending on the situation, I feel like most of the time it's not personal. They probably forgot. And and just because they forgot doesn't mean that they don't care. It doesn't mean that they meant to forget, or that they're avoiding you, or that they don't love you enough to remember. It's very easy to, whoa, look at the difference. It's very easy to like get that snowball effect of like, oh, they didn't respond, they're not thinking about me, they don't care. Like, honestly, maybe, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Truly. What do you think about when that happens? Why do you feel rejected when that happens? Like, in any situation, redirect your energy. Stop thinking about what do they think and start thinking about, what do I think? What do I think about that? They didn't respond to my text. I felt rejected. Why did I feel rejected? Why did that hit so deep for me? Once you start thinking about things in that aspect, your life is going to become so much calmer, because it's not about everything that's going on around you. It's about everything that's going on in here. And everything that's inside, is stuff that you can control. You can't control what other people do. All you can control is what you're learning from that and how you're going to react to that. And the more you work on it, the better you get at reacting. Because the more you believe, like, oh, it's really not about me. But I'm about me. Like, it's not that nothing is about you. You could be about you. Again, be the main character in your own life. Stop making other people the main character. And I struggle with this personally. Because, it's very easy to get into that kind of thought process. But at the end of the day, it's like, why would I care? It's going to be me in my bed. Only me in my bed at the end of the night. And what am I going to think about then? Who's going to know what I'm thinking about then? So why would I waste my time thinking about other people? You know what I mean? Make your mind a safe place for you. Make your mind a pleasant place for you. You have the power to do that. Things going on outside of you, you don't have control over. You don't have to make them worse by thinking about how bad they are, or thinking about the worst case scenario. It's a very easy thing to do, and you have to know that your mind doing that is trying to protect you. Your brain is trying to protect you. Your mind is trying to protect you from, maybe being disappointed, being rejected, being caught off guard. Like, your body is doing everything it can to protect you. And you can appreciate that, and you can also know that you don't have to think that way. Your mind is trained to work in survival mode. It's not trained to live life it's not trained to live the easiest it can. Your mind always jumps to the most complicated answer and is going to accept the most complicated answers to things. But I would argue that most things are very simple. And your life becomes a lot easier when you take things for what they are. Don't read into them. It's hard Because your brain is running. Your brain is trying to figure out why. Why is this happening? Or why did they say this? Why did they react this way? Why don't they feel this way? You know? And you could go on, or maybe they do secretly feel this way and blah, blah, blah. But you creating these stories to try to make yourself feel better is not really making yourself feel better. If you want to feel better, then feel better. It sounds so dumb, I know. And you're like, what? What do you mean? Explain it. Just don't make it harder for yourself. Okay, they don't like you? They don't like you. That doesn't mean that they hate you. It doesn't mean that they're repulsed by you. It doesn't mean that they don't think you're attractive or fun or funny or cool. They can think all those things and still not like you. That has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. And I'm not saying that in like, you're the winner and I'm not saying that in the sense that like you're perfect and then if somebody doesn't agree then they're wrong. No. I'm just saying that somebody's coming from their own place and they don't have control over whether or not they like you in that way. And that has nothing to do with you. Because maybe, again, I want to say like maybe this, maybe that, but those things don't matter. It doesn't matter maybe. At the end of the day, if they don't feel the same way, they don't feel the same way. What else are you going to do? The why doesn't matter. All the little details don't matter. Because you're never going to know 100%. You're never going to figure that out. Because you don't know what's going on in somebody's head. And you respect that because they don't know what's going on in your head. And that's something, we're built like that for a reason, you know? We're wired to have so much to ourselves. Like, so much is private. All of our thoughts are private for a reason. And you respect that. It's like, okay, whatever. And the quicker you can move on from those kinds of things, the more attractive you are, in my opinion. Because you're so detached from what's going on and so attached to how you are and you prioritize how you feel that people know that it's a lot harder to interfere with that. And that's attractive because they know that you're not insecure, you're not seeking validation from outside. And why is that attractive? Why do you think that's attractive? At least for me personally, if I get the sense that somebody is depending on me for whatever reason, for validation, for comfort, for whatever, I start to get very uncomfortable. I mean, this is a hard thing to explain. I'm just going to explain it very bluntly because that makes the most sense right now. But it does make me very uncomfortable because I am so independent that I don't understand. Or like, look, again, I could go into the why there. I'm so independent. Why? You know you're independent. Where does that come from? I've had to figure a lot out on my own. I've had a lot of people in my life who it felt like didn't have the capacity to handle what I was going through or didn't have the capacity to handle what I was feeling. So I figured it out on my own. Figured out how to process it on my own. And, you know, that's like a whole different thing. But that's just a good example of asking yourself why. Where does that come from? Why does that come from there? What did you learn from that? Do you want to stay that way? Do I want to keep being independent? No, I think it's good to be a little dependent on people so you can be close with them, so you can feel connected to them. But at the end of the day, you have yourself, you have God, you depend on God. And the point of depending on God is it's not because, well, actually, it's entirely because you're inadequate. And it's not because you should know how to do it on your own. You're not supposed to. I think about it, why would God create us to not need him? We're his creation. It's like, why would I make something that doesn't need me? So it can just go do something crazy? I mean, we have free will, that's for sure. But God knows because he made us, we need him. And when you're disconnected from that, there you feel that lack. You feel that you feel a little bit more lost. And you can feel lost when you still know God. But you have something to fall back on. Anyways, that was a little side tangent. But yeah, I mean, being independent yourself, I think people like that because they know there's not so much of a weight to you. I'm not trying to say this to make anybody feel bad, but I'm trying to say it to make a point that when somebody's depending on you, when they're putting a lot of pressure, they're putting pressure on you and with that, you kind of are a little bit on edge because you don't know if you might disappoint them or something, how they're going to react to that. I'm kind of figuring this out as I'm speaking. But somebody who's independent, you know that maybe if you mess up, they might not blame you. There's a little bit more security in that, I feel like. And maybe more like, I don't want to say mystery, but mystery in a way, because I don't know. But yeah, I do think people who are dependent or independent seem a little more attractive because they're kind of doing their own thing, and it's like no matter what, they're gonna keep doing their own thing, and it makes you curious. It's like, well, what are you up to? Whereas just somebody who's very dependent on other people, you always know what they're up to, and they don't get to have that just for themselves. And it's kind of like somebody who's independent, you get to be invited into their world. And that's a lot more of an honor, I feel like, than just somebody who's like, please, please give me attention. Like, be with me, hang out with me. I need somebody there all the time. Then it's like, well, maybe there's less about you that they want around and more about just having someone around. And that's, I feel like, a distinction that I can feel very heavily. It's like the same things about, like, nice guys. It's like, well, you're doing all this to impress me, but I'm not really special to you because you're doing this because you want something or you need something from me. Versus you genuinely just doing something nice, that I can accept a lot more easily, and that is attractive. Because you're not doing it to get something. You're not doing it with any other motive. You're just doing it because that's who you are. That's very attractive. To me. Anyways, I don't really know what I've been on about this whole time. I've just been kind of talking. But I think it's good. I think my focus right now is that I want to be authentically myself. And for me personally, the steps that I'm taking towards that is kind of detaching from the friendships and relationships that I have right now. That, well, in general, detaching from those a little bit and putting a lot more work into who I want to be. Well, you got to figure out who you want to be first. So start there. But, you know, what goals do I have? What do I want to work towards? What do I want, you know? For me right now, I want straight A's, and I think I could get them. I had a rough start to this semester, but I got a few 80s, 88s, high 80s that I can feel it's almost there. So a lot of my energy is going to go towards that. Then I have like my art projects that I want to work on. A lot of my energy is going to go towards that. I have a goal of buying a bass guitar, and I have a goal of going abroad next year. I want to go to a few different places. I'm going to put a lot of energy towards that right now. You know? I want to so now that I've identified all these goals that I want, how do I get there? Okay, if I want those straight A's, I need to know when my assignments are. I need to know what do I need to do for my classes, And I need to make sure that I have time for that, and that I'm working towards that, and I'm putting genuine energy into that. And there's the authenticity too. It's like, are you authentically working towards that? Are you, this is, my phrasing is going to sound very weird, but are you authentically showing up to class? Because if you're not, and if you show up to class, even if you're not on your phone or anything, if you're not really listening, you're not really taking in that information. You need to show up. Show up so that you can get what you want. If you want an A in the class, you got to show up and you got to pay attention. You know, you have to put in a little extra work. But it's not as much as you think. It's not going to drain you as much as you think it will. And that's something people, they think it's going to take so much more energy to not be lazy. And I get it. I really do. I'm lazy. I'm lazy. And I'll be honest, I think I'm especially lazy when it comes to relationships. Because, again, I'm very independent. So for me, and this is something that I want to work on, but I guess right now it's not really, it's a high priority. It's something that I'll keep in my mind. But, yeah, I'm not very good at, like, complimenting others, or I love talking to people, but I tend to talk less about, what you feel, or, like, what's going on with you, and more about abstract ideas or whatever. I'm curious about what you think about things, but not necessarily, like, what you're doing. And that's something that I do want to be better on. But anyways, again, that's part of, like, authentically showing up. It's that also once you whoa, am I shaking? Once you identified what it is you want, there's a lot more intention when you go into those situations. So for instance, like, if I want to save up money so that I can travel and I can buy a guitar and buy more clothes and buy makeup, then I'm gonna have a lot more intentionality about working, trying to get hours, maybe getting a new job, hustling, doing, like, random stuff. There's a lot more intention going into that. And it's not just something I'm deciding to do, it's something that I'm working towards. And then so much happens in that in between space. So that's why it's like they always say, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Because, okay, maybe my goal is to go to Italy in the fall, but through that, I'm gonna have to work a lot. I'm gonna have to work at new places, probably different places. I'm gonna meet people. I'm gonna have fun working towards that. I'm gonna, I don't know, there's a lot. But, yeah, you just have a lot more intentionality that way. Or if it's that I want to work on my art, I'm going to be a lot more intentional about putting 100% of my focus into my art, and less about, like, it's just me doing something with my hands while I'm watching a movie or whatever. Like, I'm still going to probably put on a movie when I'm just doing it, but I don't want my mind to be so crowded at the same time. I want to be more present. And I think that's what a lot of this comes down to, is that when you show up authentically and when you show up with intention, you get to be so much more present in the moment, and you're going to experience, like, 100 times more because you get to be in that moment. And instead of just everything that's going on up here, you don't have to worry about that. You can just show up and be in that room. Even if you're the only one in it, it's going to be a great room because you're going to make it a great room. Anyways, that was a lot. But that's what I'm thinking about right now. And that's what I think the next couple months of my life are going to look like. There's a lot that I'm going to do to work towards that. But, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Toodles.